All right, fellas. So what I have here is a Cub Cadet SS470. Now, this thing has had a bit of an accident. This was my coworker's machine. Literally fell off the back of his truck after he was done using it, and he's on a few acres, and he forgot to put his tailgate up. Long story short, it fell, it hit a rock, and really screwed it up. At least as far as the cosmetics and the bodywork goes. So what I did was, so it wouldn't leak stuff all over my car, bagged it up with some mats, and yeah, we've got a bit of an issue. Right off the bat, we're going to need a new one of these. We're going to need a new recoil assembly. We're going to need a new oil fill tube. One thing I am going to do though is remove the end, because that'll make this thing a little easier to work with. So I managed to push this thing in a little bit, kind of got it cocked. However, I do have a little trick up my sleeve to deal with that. I hooked a piece of wire around it very carefully. And there it is. Not too bad. And there's the piece that broke off. You guys can see that. So that's one thing that I don't have to deal with anymore. Alright, so what we're going to do first is start to disassemble this, and we're going to remove the top cover. And we have two screws in the back. So there's the top cover. Now what I'm going to do to make this a little easier on myself is, like, these three screws, put them inside the cover just so I know what goes where. So now I'm going to pull off the air filter cover, which is kind of on there pretty tight. Alright, so that's off. Pull this air filter out. It needs to be cleaned up. So I'm just going to set those aside, and now we have these two screws in here inside of the air filter assembly that are going to need to come off. And what we'll do is, this cover is literally disintegrating. We'll pull the PCV off. Make sure this gasket's still good. Alright, so we're also going to be changing this, and there we go. So pull that piece off. We're just going to set this aside. I'm only changing this because it was really cheap to buy a new set, and it's actually ripped right here, so might as well change it. And then we're also going to, because I do have a new one of these, change this as well. Alright, so now what we're going to do is detach the engine and everything else up here from the body, because the body itself does have to be changed. This is completely screwed up. And there's two more in the back there. So I just disconnected the carburetor control, and now I'm just going to take the magneto ground and disconnect that. That piece is off. So we're just going to set that aside for now. Alright, engine's removed. Now we're going to replace this piece. And Alright, that retainer. So now, there we go. There's the old piece. We're going to need this nut and that screw. So that's good enough for the garbage can. You can see on the other end here, it's perfect for the nut that goes in. So, but first we're going to do is line up this hole, sink this small retainer screw back in. So now the other screw. And that I will tighten up if it needs to be, but I'm not worried about that just yet. And here is a brand new one with a different handle. So it basically just goes back on and in place. Alright, so I just got the oil tube put on, which wasn't too big of a deal. I just had to kind of loosen this up as I forgot about it. And it's just a single screw that holds it in, and you just pop it right in place and tighten the screw, and that's it. So I think we're just about done with the engine, other than stuff that we're going to put onto it after we get it mounted and the tank and carb put back on. And that is the carburetor's heat shield and those associated felt gaskets. Also, the gas tank has a new little nub here for it, pad. So, move this thing around. Two here on the bottom. And now we have the two self-tapping screws that go here and here. So what I'm going to do now is kind of spruce up, tidy up everything around here, which I didn't really do too much of that. Thing has good compression. Alright, so two things. I got the new oil plug, or old oil plug rather, from the owner. And believe it or not, this little oil plug is like 20 bucks. So this is trash. And this old one will stick into the new oil fill tube. Now we have a brand new carburetor, which I was thinking about just pulling this throttle plate off of the new one and putting it on the old one. Okay, so I didn't show it on camera, but I've got everything put back together now. And I even did my best to transfer over the stickers, and I just glued them down with some RTV, but it definitely looks a lot better than it did when it came in. So now I just have to service it with oil. And it's already got fresh fuel in it, which he left in the tank for me. And a new baffle, new gasket, which is what these are. These are all the old parts. So like I said, now I just have to throw some oil in it, and I might have to adjust the idle speed on this carburetor, which you can do right through here. But everything seems to be working okay. So it's pretty close to being almost done. Alright, so I'm about to fill her up with oil. According to the owner's manual, which I was able to pull up online, it only takes about 2 ounces or so, which obviously is not very much oil. My magic oil bottle here is filled up with SA30 motor oil. I know for a fact there is no oil in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the cord a few times, cycle the oil around, let it kind of move around a little bit more inside of the motor. Now you guys can't really see it because it's difficult for even me to see, but the oil is about right here, about halfway or so up the tube, which the manual also did make a mention of that, I believe. So I'm just going to double check that, make sure that's actually what I'm seeing. Yeah, there it is. You guys probably cannot see that. So here she is, all oiled up and put back together. I don't know if there's any string in there or not. I'm not really concerned about that, but I just wanted to show you guys that he's definitely got his money's worth out of this thing. He lives on, I believe, 10 acres, and he uses it for weed control. Basically to get down stuff that his riding mower can't get, and it's worked out pretty good for him. He said he's owned this thing for about 3 or 4 years now. And other than it falling out the back of his truck, that's the only issue he's had with it. So even though this is an MTD product, there are certainly better brands out there than these, but honestly these aren't all that bad. And the big positive about MTD products is, of course, their parts availability and and the amount of money that they cost, because they are very reasonable, especially compared to Steel or Husqvarna or even Echo. So I will give them that, but let's go ahead and try and start it. Like I said, I have not tried to start it yet. We shouldn't have any issue. I may have to adjust that idle screw, so I'm going to go get a small Phillips, and then we'll be on our way. Set it to full choke. Give it some primes. There we go. I'm not seeing any fuel leaks. That's good. All right. And played with the idle a little bit. But anyways, I'm glad I was able to get it all put back together for him and fixed up. And believe it or not, this stupid little oil plug, if I had bought that for him separately, was like 18 bucks. just for the oil plug, not for the tube. The tube itself was like a few dollars. But anyways, I think he's definitely going to be happy with this, and we'll go from there. So until next time, boys, stay tuned for more videos, and you all stay classy.